So we can pick up here. You guys can go for a long rest here. We can pick up that next morning. You have a rather large troop inside of this little area. I believe I've got the count at 8 people right now inside of your group. You should have effectively Eku, or oh wait, no, my bad. Orvex has left you guys for a present, so really it's 7. But Eku, Artis, Dragonbait, and then you've got Zeros, Quinn, Jarek, and Terran. And we'll softly discuss the players who are kind of players. So effectively, for by the end of things, that was Terran who was on watch. Effectively, like Terran and Quinn are the. Oh wait, no, you guys have to separate it. Was it Terran or Quinn who finished the watch? Do you remember, Chris?
Wasn't it Steros who was on the last watch?
Okay. So we're gonna finish with Zeros had that last 2 hours. He's the only one like really awake, but there's no reason, as far as I'm concerned, to start with like Zeros and Artis unless you had something in particular. But Zeros basically has Artis and Dragonbait. Everybody else can wake up to the three of them kind of sitting around what remains of any fire, even if you guys are just like kind of heating stuff. Oh wait, no, you don't have to stay warm and
Yeah, unless they had set a fire because of the chill from the uh, freezing over of the walls.
yeah, I feel like this would be the chill is like having AC for the first time. You might feel cold, but in the long run, um, it's definitely a welcome measure.
Yeah, makes sense.
Oh, and the walls was definitely spell work too. Like artist doesn't just cool the area so much he like used magic in those spots kind of thing.
Right, because I think it you had described the ice kind of extending past the wall and even into part of the jungle.
Yeah. I feel like it should almost be thought of kind of like imagine like shield if it created like a barrier like a certain distance from you. It's kind of that level of like when he casts it, there's just like a little snow globe around him where things kind of freeze around that like edge, and the interior kind of gets coated with a little bit of snow that would have melted in time, but the snow would have stayed much longer than you would expect even in that heat.
Yeah, so I guess when we wake up, or when the rest of us wake up and uh, seeing Artis and Dragonbait there, Jarek would be uh, surprised to see him. Be curious how they looked like in terms like do they look like they've been um in like fights recently? Are they like bloodied or like not like mechanically bloodied, but
I feel like pretty much anytime you're going to see these two, you're going to see kind of like a gray man kind of traveler. It's very much a human and it's very much a non human. When you see Dragonbait, I believe Dragonbait has a tail. So there are certain qualities about him that will always kind of jump out. His race doesn't really fit in, but it's almost close enough because if I remember correctly, I don't have the race in front of me right now, but that race is almost wiped out. There are very few of them remaining, and Dragonbait kind of like falls into looks close enough to a Dragonborn and almost like a lizard folk. It's hard to kind of see, but it's like a double take. Um, that's kind of the biggest thing that jumps out to grab your attention. Otherwise, their dress is very much not showing off some of the more ornate things, being far more high utility. It shows wear and tear. They are not clean looking people, but they're definitely also not filthy. I think overall you'll see like signs of like a blood like drip across clothing, but you'll see that they themselves don't necessarily show wounds. But overall they're far more like kind of that like living rough, weathered look.
Gotcha.
And I don't think that should like feel any different than when you saw them last time. That was part of what I was getting there. They have this very seasoned look about them, and it would be pretty similar to, I think last time I described far more like a little bit to their like leather clothing, but effectively, that same idea. They look like traveling rogues kind of thing. They could be just about anything, except for, noticing like Dragonbait has a pretty massive sword, and I believe Artis is kind of just like quick on his feet, open hands kind of thing. I think he's got a book visible as far as being a wizard goes.
Yeah, so Jarek will kind of, as he gets up, he'll throw a nod towards Artis, and another towards Dragonbait, and uh, I would say it's surprised to see you here in Omu, but heard a few whispers you were in the area. I hope the Zentarum hadn't been giving you too much trouble.
Um, Roll a wisdom save for me. He's gonna kind of look to you a little puzzlingly for a moment, and um, we were closer than perhaps you had thought. I spent some time in Orlungu, and I believe having visited after yourself, I was able to have quite the chat with Saj about you and your plight. And then when you kind of like goes back to the Zentarum a little bit, like to almost like catch himself. Ah, don't worry about the people who follow me. Troublesome, but we get by. Yeah, my bad. I described that poorly. He is like a longbowed archer. This guy very much fits like the ranger kind of look, which I still feel like fits that idea of saying a traveled rogue is that same idea. This is somebody who's like at home in this like grungy just existence. So when he speaks as having been there before, and actually learning about you from Saj, um, you might recognize that you went there well after he had through there. And without specifically saying it, I'd say at this point you also will recognize that Saj also had wisdom of already seeing uh Artis. And you can recall that Saja is not a part of this time. That the two of you saw somebody who, is kind of outside of that time frame.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I had actually I'd forgotten that Jarek had seen that. Kind of one of the last things we saw was Artis having a conversation with Saj. So I think maybe like Artis's mentioning of it will jog Jarek's memory.
Saj was aware that you had some dealings with a certain lord of these parts.
If you're referring to Rosnisi, I am glad to say that I don't think he'll be a lord much longer. We did have dealings with him for a time.
So we don't necessarily have to go into a lot of details, but I think at some point in kind of a morning preparation of you all need to get to your appointed meeting, which I think was kind of high noon, to meet with the Red Wizards. Artis is going to kind of pick apart kind of these dealings with the Yuan-Ti, and kind of gain a understanding of where you all are. Do you have thoughts on how much information you would kind of be open with, close-minded with? And this is going to start to pick apart like each and every decision, starting to work with them, like gathering cubes, giving up those cubes, kind of like going back and betraying, walking away with the cubes, leaving Rosny. You guys have thoughts how you would kind of deal with those conversations? Do you want to go terribly in depth into a conversation with Artis?
I think the one thing that Jarek would not want to bring up would be the kind of the blood oath that they were sort of not coerced, but kind of had to end up doing with Fantaza about recovering the crown. I don't think Jarek would, and like the human sacrifice. Um, but the kind of the general contours of kind of what they've had to do other than that, I think Jarek would. I don't know. For some reason, um, yeah, I think he'd be fairly open with the rest of it. But he would like if there was anything that Taryn, you know, that he sensed Taryn seemed recalcitrant about saying, Jarek would follow his lead.
How does that sound to you from Taryn? As you kind of like start to notice some of the story gets dropped, do you subtly back him up? Do you have thoughts where you try to like pull him aside?
Now, Tam would probably more subtly try to back him up. Just if Jack doesn't feel like we should mention it, then probably shouldn't.
So he would like, yeah. So Jarek would try to emphasize more like, like the reason like Vintaz is willing to help us is more, or at least not stand in our way, is because we, helped her with prostasy, and she, doesn't seem to have any interest in the cubes. But he would essentially try to elide over like the crown and human sacrifice in that part.
So let me get a deception here from the two of you. I just immediately start giggling.
Yeah, that tracks. It's very
It might
clearly.
roll.
Yeah,
I
go
saw
for
that.
it. It just means he's not helping it all on the lie. I was thinking it as more of an assist rather than like a group check, so it's not going to be one of those things where, like a stealth check, there's not like helping somebody. Each person's rolling. Is it not going through? Is that what you asked? Did I roll?
Yeah, that was because I rolled, but it didn't show up on roll 20.
I think at this point, I actually really don't know for sure, but I think at this point, if you've got the die roller set on D&D Beyond, it's like not sending dice over to roll 20.
Now I noticed what was wrong. For some reason, the Beyond 20 wasn't activated, so to say. On
Gotcha. What did you roll before?
it was just an 8, so it wasn't anything spectacular.
So at some point, like during this kind of conversation, kind of going over, why am I set to whisper? Well, we're all kind of like going over this conversation and discussing some of the dealings with the Yuan-Ti. You're going to see pleasure, satisfaction, like definitely dangerous kind of faces. Overall, kind of like the look of an adventurer who's kind of just as much caught up in a story as the actual kind of idiocy of some of the actual choices, and a bit of the insanity of everything kind of going on. You can definitely gather somebody who's kind of caught up a little bit more on this kind of story, but also not entirely ignorant of things. But there's definitely going to be that point where you do kind of like brush over some of the terms of dealing with Fantaza. And maybe a few of his comments are going to be kind of snarky thoughts where you'll hear things like, let me actually look up, I think it's those are the type of deals Nightmare Seer of um, Dendar would speak of and agree to. And he'll kind of like give you those like sideway looks, a little bit of sideway commentary in kind of response to these things. Not necessarily fighting what you're saying, but definitely hearing somewhat like cross kind of remarks to maybe belie a little bit that um, Artis is a little bit more seasoned than to kind of think about that being as simple as it might be. That Fantaza just needed a betrayer, and that there's no other cost to be paid. Um, you'll have some level of, you guys can recognize Artis has come here to have things kind of come to a conclusion. And there's kind of a draw for him. He's kind of looking for a reason to, he will join and aid you. And I think this would kind of fall back into that same idea of kind of seeing a little bit beyond what you have to still serve for Fantaza. Or he's kind of come back to finish off Rosnacy. Um, but kind of that'll be where this conversation kind of continues as far as Artis goes. So you guys have kind of a point where you can point him towards what is arguably one of his biggest like life goals, or kind of continue with the aid of somebody who feels a draw to you and has kind of come here for this sort of touch of destiny.
Yeah, so Jarek would be, he wouldn't be one to stand in Artis's way if he chose to go after and try to finish off Rosnacy, but he would, um, given that Artis knows kind of, has also visited Saj, and Jarek's not sure kind of how much he knows of kind of what Jarek learned, but he would say, he would tell Artis and Dragonbait, that um, there's a threat, perhaps even greater than Rosnacy, that uh, maybe lurking in the tomb. And, excuse me, sorry, in the tomb, and that uh, they would be would not be unhappy to have them along. They wanted to join them.
Any thoughts from Taryn on that? You'll certainly understand, like, the threat is certainly part of that kind of same recognition, where this is one of those kind of moments where I don't think artists kind of came forward as a Harper. I don't believe any of you have connections with Harpers. Karen might have a reason to be aware of the Harpers because of. Scroll down some names here. Valdis? Had you ever thought about, was Valdis a good enough of a bard to have aspirations to one day kind of play the world and help the poor?
I mean, Valdis would certainly like to be that good. Not sure if he ever got that good though, but
I mean, it's the type of thing, though, where just hearing about the Harpers, just kind of like a mythic little thing as a child, might have been enough to incline him. A lot of Harpers are bards, purely because they have this like thought of traveling the world, and because they can play different taverns, they blend seamlessly into these areas and can come by for a short amount of time and do good, usually via very stealthily getting rid of bad. But like, you can kind of pick up like a little bit um, with Taryn just from being Valdis's friend, kind of thing. Where at some point, Artis kind of recollects like that the Ring of Winter has been his life's quest to live long enough to see Alessandra again, to see the return of Mesro. And then he kind of like looking to you all, you'll hear like that kind of lament. Why was the Harper's symbol the true heart of that pattern? Kind of like a recognition that, like, if he didn't go after this ring, he would have never been able to do all that good. But what he did with it was always helping people. And I'll basically give you all one more chance. Like, he's basically saying he'll come with you all. Turn him away if you would like to. But effectively, one last chance. Do you all request for the aid of Artis? Or are you going to turn him away and point him towards Rosny?
I think Jarek will go ahead and ask, um, kind of more formally for their help, and he would also say that if you help us in this, if there's anything I can do for you later, um, it would be in your debt.
Maybe a little chuckle. Making plans for later is always a good way to survive. And kind of like a deep handshake. And how about you, Taryn? Any thoughts?
and now I'm fully on board with having Arthas with us, and Tam would be like, and that the same goes for him. That favor isn't just owed to from Yarrick. That's from probably from all of us.
I don't think I saved a file or anything about the smells and Dragonbait's communication, but I'm gonna go for you guys smell like the scent of kind of like sweet sage, just kind of like permeating through the air. and you can kind of see from like Artis and Dragonbait, like um, just the two of them are in. It's not like a happy state, but it's one of those things, kind of like a recognition of significant danger, and this is what heroes do. Um, any other questions for them that you guys can think of? Otherwise, do you all have thoughts on how you would like to approach this high noon meeting? We kind of talked about it just across the river, effectively on that little east-west highway.
Yeah, Jarek. I can't think of any other questions that Jarek would have. In terms of the meeting, Jarek might suggest that it's
If I can interrupt, my apologies. I guess again, since it is kind of like thought that it's a long conversation, I had in mind that on some level you'll recognize Artis and Dragonbait spent a long time with Sasha. Their time is kind of they went there, saw you guys, and they actually came straight here from Oralunga. But the time's different. I kind of wanted like Brent or Jarek to recognize that. My apologies.
okay. Gotcha. Yeah, because we know because the first time we met, right? I remember Artis had been talking about like some of his time in Cormier, but like he had been referring to people like long dead. So like even back then, I think we knew that there was he's been around for a while.
Yeah, I don't think you guys have a full understanding of what the Ring of Winter is. Just that it was kind of being hunted at. Um, but yeah, there's definitely kind of a weird level of just recognizing, like, from his perspective, he spent some time there and then kind of rushed to you guys. And doesn't really hide that. Again, that could have been like, I feel like this whole session, and that's kind of why I wanted to just do a narrative, recalling some time with him. But my apologies jumping around there. Um, Back to the idea of plotting, planning, anything that you guys have in mind about approaching that highway. What were you thinking, Justin?
Yeah, so Jarek was thinking, it's hopefully the, uh president of artists and Dragonbait, like the Red Wizards wouldn't know about their, the Zentarum know he's here, but maybe the Red Wizards don't. And perhaps if Artis and Dragonbait can, because Jarek doesn't trust, still doesn't trust the Red Wizards. So he's thinking, if there's a way for Artis and Dragonbait to essentially kind of hide themselves away and keep an eye on things while Jarek and Taryn kind of go to have the meeting. And if things go south, if a fight breaks out, then maybe Artis and Dragonbait might be able to jump in, but kind of keeping them almost like in our back pocket kind of thing is his thought.
Thoughts on that from Taryn? Would you guys want to, like, how would you describe that to them as well? Just kind of like any level of bouncing that between the two of you, and then kind of the thoughts about what you would tell um, the two of them, Artist and Dragonbait. Do you all want to go there right away and kind of have basically you guys be there ahead of time and kind of try to organize things? Are you going to try to arrive like on time, fashionably late?
Yeah, so I think like Jarek would kind of describe the meeting place as best he could, but he would, yeah, suggest if we can get there early, scope it out. Um, Give kind of artists and Dragonbait a chance to see kind of where things are happening. Um, I think they'd want to, keep them close somewhere where they could watch. Maybe, if there's a building nearby that they might be able to get a vantage point on, like the roof or something like that. I mean, worst case, if we get there early and they're already there, we'll deal with things then. But it might be better to, if we can get there early, give us a little more time to sort of prepare.
Thoughts on that, Taryn?
The only thing I like that would, I mean, I don't know if we already told him, but would at least like to tell Artis and Dragonbait about Orvax, that he's a friend and that he's the one who's helping us set up the meeting also, and try to describe how he looks. So they know that that's an ally at least.
Gotcha. Sounds good. Yeah, you guys can definitely convey that. So if you prepare to head there early, do you think you are going to head there kind of like early, like just after dawn, like 6 in the morning, after you guys have like an hour or so of kind of waking up? You doing like 10 o'clock? How early is early?
So Jarek would see no reason to delay kind of after they've had this kind of conversation and maybe a bit of breakfast and all that. He's ready to go kind of as soon as everyone's ready.
Yeah, and Terran's fine with that too. He's certainly wants to get there earlier rather than later.
Gotcha. So when you guys are good to go, let me get 2d12 from the two of you. Oh, my bad. Well done. I meant a d12. Like, definitely psyched myself out there.
I almost asked, and I figured it's easier to roll.
Yeah, always easier to roll and just have the first one, anyways. Yeah. So you guys can head through this part of the jungle, basically passing down. Um, that does kind of change things. How close do you all get to the Red Wizard complex? Now that you guys kind of understand your path kind of passes by it. I didn't really ask this last week, but how close do you get to that? Does that make you hesitant to go the routes that you have cleared?
Jarek might suggest, you know, Taryn, if you want to try and scout ahead a little bit as we get closer to there, just to see if you see any activity. Then if you do, or you get like a funny sense that we should still have enough time to kind of take a longer way, circle around it, avoid it.
Gotcha. Let me get a perception from you, Taryn. What's your stealth modifier these days? Like +8?
Yep, a +8.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you can kind of like cross over and send Taryn forward a little bit, scouting out a little bit where you gotta climb. There's not a whole lot of tall buildings around there, so I think you're gonna end up with something like where you're climbing up a tree just kind of nearby, getting far closer than you'd probably want to get, but you can move up to it. You lose probably about 15-20 minutes to basically see that the camp looks just as abandoned as it's been abandoned before. There doesn't seem to be any sign of anything moving, living, anything about that place that seems active at present. You can return to the party, effectively seeing that you guys are pretty good to just kind of cross. You'll probably find yourselves still pretty early in the dawn, probably about 30 to like 50 degrees of arc in the day before you're looking at noon. And I just had a massive strike of lightning overhead, which I wish was going into the game. If I lose power, I'll jump back on my phone and let you guys know what's up. So on this big map, website. On this big map, that's kind of like an hour or so of traveling to this place. You probably have like 3 hours, give or take some, to kind of like make a decision about what you all are doing, or like essentially 3 hours till you expect it can be interpreted high noon. Uh, as far as your kind of general setting here, I think this map is massive, but it kind of gives you an idea. You guys can kind of tell me what you would like to set up as far as where you guys are hoping to kind of like sit, have aid, what kind of thoughts that you all have.
Yeah, so we're approaching this from the west, right?
Yeah, like that little river tree crossing is basically directly to the west of here.
Yeah, so Jarek, I think, would be his idea would be he'll just be kind of on this kind of stone highway concourse. Um, and you said there don't seem to be any like kind of like taller buildings right nearby, right?
I mean, as much as it's supposed to represent something, this map's got kind of a tower overlooking that area. Is it on the map that I made? No. But that doesn't mean that we can't have a tower be there. Of course, it's like right where there's ruins in this one. Let's say. All right. So, I mean, obviously it sucks going from 3D to 2D. But if that's kind of the tower in that picture below, you've got that as whoops, that did not work. Kind of like 4 stories above the rest, or 3 stories above the rest.
Yeah, so Jarek's thought is maybe have Artis and Dragonbait kind of take up a position in there where they can kind of, if there's a spot in there where they can kind of view the the concourse. Maybe they come up like maybe Jarek would suggest a um like a call or a like almost like a not safe word, but like a signal if
Sign,
like things
yes,
go south. Yeah, that he can call. Um, that he or Taryn can call to like indicate like they need them there. Although I guess they would see if a fight breaks out. So, but generally, yeah. I mean, I guess generally, again, like the idea Jarek has is kind of Artisan and Dragonbait can be close in case something, there's a betrayal or something. But otherwise, Taryn and he can deal with the exchange. But Taryn, I don't know if you had any ideas.
No, I mean I'm not really big on ideas at the moment. But yeah, I agree with setting up Artis and Dragonbait in the tower at least to have them the backup.
Other than that, any other thoughts, guys? Are you hanging out like on that concourse and just kind of relaxing for a few hours?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jarek would kind of like he might like pace it a bit. Um, and I'll walk down to the east a bit and then like walk back. Um, I mean, the other thing
How far are you
he
actually like walking away from everybody?
I think he'd want to stay within view of Terran.
Yeah, I mean, with the jungle, if you guys like clear that, there's a lot less choking that off because it's kind of higher ground, anyways. But it doesn't mean like the vines don't kind of grow up on top of each other. So there's definitely like a level of you could probably go most of that way and still call it within sight of Terran. So it's really a question of like how far are you gonna walk away from him or from the group? You're looking at, yeah, it's probably about 700 feet from one side to the other.
Yeah, I guess kind of belatedly, I was just thinking too, you know, Jarek would be maybe the Terran suggests that maybe we should essentially kind of do a little bit more exploration of this area around just in case like the Red Wizards had the same idea we had and maybe have some, surprises waiting for us nearby if we have some time before the allotted kind of meeting time.
Yeah, I mean, sure, we could. Oh, sorry.
I want you to talk, Chris. So anytime you're starting to talk, if I'm already pressing, it's purely reaction. Go ahead.
All right, sorry. Just, uh, just gonna say, sure, we could look around. Just, I mean, see if there's anything around or anyone. Also, wouldn't be bad to know if there's any hidey holes or anything to look out for while we have the meeting.
Gotcha. Thoughts? Do you guys want to start going house to house and kind of clear them like you had been clearing them before? Do you have thoughts about clearing like a getaway path? How would you like to go into these buildings?
Yeah, I guess Jarek's idea would be, we can climb down the kind of north side of here, kind of checking some of these buildings north, kind of going kind of one by one. Um yeah, I guess in terms of how we want to go searching them, he doesn't really have any specific ideas.
So part of what I'm getting at is just tell me what you guys want to kind of set up here. You can probably turn almost anything into your advantage by doing extra, but it's purely like this is an opportunity like to just let me know how you all want to prepare more for this. If you're just kind of going into the buildings, there's that chance that you can kind of encounter them and potentially flip the kind of script on them because you're going to where they're not expecting, kind of thing. If you guys wait, you can just go ahead. Like, I don't want you guys to flounder because I'm asking the questions. If you don't want to do any other preparation, you don't have to. But otherwise, like, if you want to start clearing some of the buildings, you can just go ahead with that. You just have to pick where.
Yeah, I guess so. So Jarek's thought would be kind of more starting from the uh kind of building to the on the other side of the tower where we have Artis. So like the westernmost on this side of the river. Maybe just like kind of going into the trying to look for the entrance and just checking kind of more looking for any signs of recent
Are you looking at that
activity.
one right now?
Yes.
That's the Temple of Vunk.
Oh, yeah, okay. So the next one over then.
Gotcha. So, like, go through like that cluster of buildings that's under the circle.
Yeah, and then kind of working our way east from there on the north side of this concourse.
And how far? Like, are you gonna go all the way to like the end of that block?
Uh, I think that would be his plan if we have time to do it. So like we wouldn't be spending. So like Jarek's thinking is we're not going to spend too much time within any one of these individual buildings unless we something suggests that there's been like activity within recently. So like a footprint or um yeah, like signs of like dust being disturbed kind of things.
I mean, on some level, I understand, but they're still choked up by jungle, so it takes a lot of time if you're gonna look on any level that's meaningful, because otherwise, everything pretty much looks like jungle.
Yeah, Terran would probably suggest we just look at like the ones next to the temple and the building next to that, and then on the south side, basically the same. It's going, yeah, and then directly south to that building, and then west.
Gotcha. Do like that circle.
Yeah, finding probably like more necessary to scan the immediate area more than every house.
Sound good to you there, Jack?
Yeah, that'll work.
Are you ignoring the Temple of Unk?
What do you think, Taryn? Try and check that one anyway. Include that.
Honestly, I'm kind of up to ignoring it for some reason, but yeah. Ankh was the one with that's his name, right? If I remember right.
Yeah, the flail snap.
All right, so you guys can start searching that first one. Let me get a round of perceptions from you, followed by a D10 and a D12. So perception, D10, D12, please. Alrighty. Kind of going through like those first kind of four buildings underneath the kind of vertical oval there. You guys can clear through those buildings, probably about 20 minutes or half hour or so to get through those. See effectively no signs of anything inside of those. Kind of clear through those buildings, everything's good. Let me do The next set of buildings here, let me get perceptions from you. And then we're going to do D10s and D12s again. These next buildings, going through them real quick, all of them kind of collapsed upper floors. They're just kind of like jumbles of like vines and crap. There's probably not any good reason to expect anybody would hide or shelter in those. Just kind of looking through real quick, you guys are going to move on and down towards the south side of the concourse. Think how it's broken up. It's just going to be those two buildings there. But let's start with the perception. And then a D10 and a D6, please. Let me get another D10 from each of you. Yeah, just kind of going through one of those rooms. A little kind of speck of like a bright little flash is gonna catch Jarek's eye. Kind of like crawling in, you're just gonna see like a little smashed box, and inside of it, a little piece of kind of like silver that forms a stopper around a little bottle. You're going to find two little bottles there. One of them is just kind of like a red vial about the size of your hand. And the other one is going to be kind of like a purplish pink that seems to have almost little flecks or flakes, like little locks of hair inside of it. Other than that, there doesn't seem to be any sign of any recent activities in those buildings.
Jarek will kind of say, mutter a little prayer to, a little thanks to Tamora for the good luck of finding these. The does the red vial kind of look like some of the other ones we found before, like the ones that Taryn got from uh,
Yeah, it's gonna effectively look kind of like coagulated blood, kind of a deep crimson.
okay.
And I would say in general, that's kind of like the go-to for red vials. Kind of like a pure like ruby red tends to be kind of the like healing potion. Up to like kind of the darker reds where it gets kind of like the blackish of coagulated blood, kind of almost like ages them.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Jericho, um, he'll put the red vial, kind of put it like in a place kind of close to hand on his belt or like in a pouch. Um, Not sure about the other potion. He'll um kind of offer it to Taryn in case it's something he might be interested in. Otherwise, he'll just hold on to it.
I will just look at it. I have no clue what that is, but sure, I'll take it.
All right, yeah, Jarek will hand over the purplish pink potion.
Moving towards the next set of buildings there, let me get another set of what was it? Perceptions, D10s, and then do a D6.
Really was lucky because all three other buildings, my perception's terrible. A 1, a 2, a 20, and then another 2.
Yeah, looking through this building, kind of the same, or these sets of buildings. A lot of them seem ignored, kind of clearing through. You don't really see any signs of any recent kind of movement or habitation in them. I think as far as you guys go, that's kind of like 2 hours spent going around that kind of area. You still have about 10 degrees or so, maybe about an hour until this meeting is meant to happen. If you wanted to clear further to the east, you can certainly do a run through on some of those buildings, but otherwise, you guys have that kind of immediate area secured, or at least visually secured prior to. Any other thoughts, or are you all ready to kind of just sit back and wait?
I think with that, Jarek will be ready to kind of return and um, just kind of wait. But if Taryn has anything else he wants to do, he will accompany him.
Oh, Terran is fine with just waiting it out until the red wizards arrive.
Oh, the only thing Jarek might suggest is that they split the cubes up on between the two of them. So just in case something happens to one, the other one gets out. The red wizards don't get everything.
Sure. Terran will hand Jarek the cube of Wongo, the cube of Unk, and let's say cube of Shagambi, just because.
Yeah, so Jarek will secure those in his pack, and again, just sort of a little mini insurance policy just in case something happens to one of them.
So right now, Jarek has 4, Taryn has 3. Is that what I heard? Did I hear that correctly?
I think Taryn should have 4 still because he handed 3 over to
Yeah.
Jarek.
Okay, my bad.
So Shagambi, Unk, and Wongo with Jarek, and then Kubasan, Nang Nang, Ubalaka, and Papa Sotul with Terran.
So when you are ready, if you would be so kind, will you place Jarek on the map? And do you all want Eku with you?
Maybe just like yeah, like hanging behind us a bit. Almost think he's almost thinking like, things go really badly. Jarek doesn't want the wizards to get their hands on, so he could almost like toss a cube to Eku and have her fly off with it, like fleeing with it. He really doesn't want the wizards to, to get the cubes.
Alrighty then. Is Eku behind you towards the water or towards like the east? I didn't actually think about that until I saw Chris and Quinn, or Taryn and Quinn.
Oh, I don't know. For some reason, Jarek was thinking they'll be coming to us from the east. And he doesn't know why he thinks that, but um, so he would probably have Eku kind of where she is now. But he would like if he sees like them approaching from the other side, he would go to kind of move in front. But for now, I don't know. He thinks
You
his
will
mind is
castle.
yeah, yeah. But he's thinking, yeah, they're coming from the east. He doesn't maybe just like instinctively because we came from the west. He's thinking they're coming from the east, even though that makes no real rational sense. But that's just the thought process.
I swear. Oh, there he is. I'm like, I swear I have an Orvex on this map. Alrighty. So, you guys are going to hang out here for a little bit longer. I would like you guys to roll one more set, one more time, a d6, please. Alrighty. So, there are going to be two things that are going to happen here. You are going to start to see a small little old man who's kind of floating up in the sky about 40 or so feet off the ground to the southeast. And while you can see like a shakiness in his arms and in his legs, he is not like convulsing. He just seems to be kind of like in a shaking state of fear. And as he kind of floats towards you all, you will eventually start to recognize this little old figure, white beard, kind of bald man is Orvex. And he's kind of like floating in the air just off to the southeast of you. Around the same time, you are going to see a figure who kind of steps out of the darkness of one of these pine trees off to the east and is just going to kind of like say in a little smug tone, if you're holding Artis, we will find out where. It's time to come clean, find your bounty, and they're just going to kind of pause as they recognize that there is a floating man coming through the sky. What initial thoughts do you all have?
The Jarek kind of when he sees Orvax or when he recognizes it as Orvax is the one flying, he's not really sure what to make of it. Kind of brow furrowed. Then when he sees the figure stepping out, and when he hears him speak and kind of realizes okay, who this is or who what group they belong to, he's kind of give a little curse under his breath, thinking like it's the last thing we need. Yeah. Um, but he's going to he'll look towards this figure. Um, haven't seen him, I'm afraid.
The truth of his presence is greater than your ability to hide. We've tracked Artis here. To know that there are others here knows that you conspire with him. Turn him in or die by our blades. It matters not to us. He will show himself. And they are going to kind of jump into action as you start to see that there is more movement from the sides of the concourse. There seems to be movement from the building behind you all. And you're going to start to see as there are shimmers from in the sky, as points of light are kind of like little like balls of fire are starting to like glimmer through and into existence, and you can kind of see there's almost like just a point where Orvex kind of like reaches behind to like steady himself, and part of his body goes invisible, and then he kind of like reaches back through, and you're gonna see like his full arm is still there again, before he kind of like leaps down and onto like a building top, kind of just to the south of these other figures. And we're gonna kind of have at that point where everybody's going to start to meet in the middle of these figures attacking from behind you. All right. One of these kind of figures is going to kind of pop out of just kind of like the shadow behind one of these large pillars that kind of lines the way here. And kind of like running out is going to kind of reach overhand and throw a vial. It is going to go towards. What is that? Zeros. Oh wait, no, my bad. It'll be Quinn. It's gonna go towards Quinn. Let me get a dexterity saving throw from her, so it should just be, I believe, a D10 basically, or a D20. Oh, she's got a full. Yeah, so like there's like a puff of like smoke and dust that kind of like starts to come up from this before she'll kind of feel it kind of like burns into her lungs a little bit. And she'll kind of fight it off. She's going to take 2 poison damage as she kind of inhales that in. And then it's going to go to Terran. Yeah, that guy's just gonna kind of run up and try to like tuck back into it. He's pretty well in full view of anybody.
Yeah, I'm just asking here now for Quinn. She took 2 poison damage. Is it
Oh yeah,
like
my bad.
2?
That's just a con save. Good. Yeah, that's part of why I feel like they're so silly, because like damage like that is meant to be like a know nothing, just to like tell you. But yeah, she doesn't take anything there. That guy's gonna like try to hide. He's doing a terrible job where everybody's kind of seeing. Could be the type of thing he just kind of like glances into it, and you just hear like a little bit of a like chirp scream from him as he catches himself. My bad, Chris. Did you hear? What would you like to do with Taryn?
Yeah, sorry. I was just thinking. Can I have Quinn go before me, or do I have to have Terran go first?
The only way you can have Quinn go before you is if you do something where you are holding your action.
All right. Oh yeah, I can do that. Then Terran is gonna what is it? Cunning action dash, so he can get in range over there basically, and then he's gonna hold his action to attack when Quinn attacks. Then Quinn is just gonna go up. She should reach, right? Go up and try to bash his face in with the sword.
First one ducking and dodging out of the way. Second one's going to be a solid hit there for 12. And then as you come forward to attack, you are going to kind of catch into leather and not pierce through the armor as you kind of like just glance off at this person. Any other thoughts? Otherwise, it'll go to Jarek.
Oh, sorry, I gotta check. Did you say 12 damage from Quinn?
Yeah, isn't that the 6 and the 3?
Yeah, but
Oh, it
isn't
didn't
that?
auto roll the crit for her.
I
My
mean,
bad.
isn't that the auto roll? I think that's a 9 though. Like 6 plus 3 9.
Oh, yeah, my bad. I don't know why I said 12. That's just really powerful math.
Well, I mean, in your defense, 2d6 3 for a 2d extra 2d6 is kind of low.
Yeah, that's definitely vicious. I kept looking at that like I can't believe. I really even was saying like to myself, I can't believe it's a 9, and then I'm saying 12.
Yeah. So so I feel like this time Jarek would have had his hand on the hilt, but he wouldn't have had it drawn at this point. So as this kind of starts to go down, he's actually going to and seeing this guy kind of throwing the vial and everything, um he's going to move forward a bit, uh kind of drawing his bow as he goes, and he's going to be like shouting Zeros with me. He's going to turn, and as this guy's trying to kind of like take cover, is going to fire an arrow at the same guy that Quinn and Karen are attacking. I think that'll kind of glance off. Zeros kind of coming up as well, staying a little behind, is aiming a couple of Eldritch Blasts in the same direction.
Why did you only shoot once with your short bow?
Oh, yeah, I don't know why I always think ranged is just what. Never mind. Sorry. Yeah, I'll fire another one.
Gotcha. So first one you kind of put it down range. The person is going to dodge. The second one you kind of like correct for how they're moving, and you're able to place like through their armor. You'll definitely hear like a little bit of a moan from that one as the arrow kind of hits in at this close range. And then yeah, Zeros.
So I think that second one should hit. First one will miss.
Yep. Definitely going to leave that individual pretty severely wounded as you guys kind of like focus in on them. As everybody kind of wheels in, you're going to see this other individual who's kind of popping out. They're going to kind of, let's see. think they're doing the same. They're gonna go for it's opposite. Gonna go for Zeros. Kind of running out. They are going to throw a vial in a pretty similar way here. I believe I said that's a dex save. If you can roll me a dexterity from Zeros.
I think that's a fail. His intention is focused the other way.
So he's just going to take 6 acid damage as it kind of like starts to like float up into the air, and these like little sparkles are just kind of like dust like part. Oh yeah, my bad. So weird. Um, that's a save, right? So you'll feel the
Yep.
actual burn, uh, but like it just kind of neutralizes, and you can recognize that the flakes are just like almost a crystalline acid that just like aerates as they smash these vials. And then
Oh, so that was a successful save?
yeah, no wound from that one. That's the thing that gets me. You failed the dexterity save. There's no reason to do the dexterity save, I think, is really what it comes down to. Because if you take the dexterity and you take damage, you have to take the save anyways. And I made that dice so it's so low that it's never going to proc any higher than your base con save. So yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's why it feels so weird, is the dexterity save is pointless.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't know if even having said that out loud, though, my brain can allow that to connect the dots. So we'll see in the future as I ask for those saves. This one, though, as he kind of like runs through the like jungle vines that creep and crawl up here, there's just going to be a point where that individual is just going to kind of disappear, and you're going to lose sight of them. Arrow flying down from up north. This is gonna go for Quinn. Probably be a little bit increased AC here. Probably looking for a modified 20 to hit on that one. That's not gonna be it. Neither will that one. And it's gonna go to this one is going to move forward. The one having spoken with you all already, kind of running forward, is going to leap out. Towards Taryn. And we're going to go for should be 2 hits on you with this one. The first one is going to do 5 piercing, and then it is going to deal 22 poison damage to you. And I need a Constitution saving throw, please. So I think that'll be 11 poison damage from it, as that's halved. And then the second strike from a short sword is going to be for 6 piercing damage, and it's going to do 30 poison, but another con save to see if you have it.
It's good ass. Can I feel like that's not how that works, but uncanny dodge on that attack? Does that work?
I feel like that'll all be in the wording, whether you can do it after you see the damage or whether you like choose an attack before the damage kind of thing. but I kind of feel like it'll be pretty clear.
I was just thinking about the poison damage if it when like because it says when an attacker that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to have the attack's damage against you. That's
Yeah,
all
I'd
it
say
says.
that's beforehand. So it's like when you know
Okay.
you're getting hit by one of those. So if you're thinking about it like that, I would say you can uncanny dodge the first of those strikes. But as far as doing the second one, it's you can't really do it after you see the damage.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm fine with that. But yeah, I am severely wounded. I'm like mortally wounded.
Do you want to do that uncanny dodge to the first one though?
I mean, yeah, if I can, then I'll do that.
So 5 would have been 2, 22 would have been 5 more. So you're taking 7 damage from that first one, and then it's going to 7, so 14 total. I think 44 total damage.
Yeah, I'm a bit better than that, but I'm still very hurt.
Yeah, I feel like that's a weird one. I'm not sure if we've actually distinguished it like that before, like before the damage is rolled versus after it.
Yeah, because some things actually specify, right? Like you can do it after the roll, but before the effects. I don't know if Uncanny Dodge actually specifies one way or the other. I
Part
don't
of
know.
why I think that direction is because I believe they usually say or after the damage is rolled. And I'm trying to think of the specific instance, but I feel like I read something for yesterday's game preparing a spell that was kind of phrased like that. It felt like it was like meant to open up to that other position that would come through. But moving along there, you all are going to have a moment where you kind of hear Orvex as he's kind of like leaping down. Orvex is kind of yelling out, "Help them! Help them! They're there!" And kind of, let's see, I think he's going to kind of roll to that edge. You guys are going to see as he is going to make a big jump, and he is going to leap across that little chasm. More or less kind of come to rest right there. Another archer here going to take 2 shots at Zeros. I think the first one will miss. The second one should hit. I think that should have been a D6. It's going to do. Oh, no, it was longbow. So 12 damage as it kind of pierces in. Yeah, that's going to be a save.
You said the first one missed because he's got 13 AC.
Yeah, the first one was the 3, so it's like a 9.
Oh, okay.
Give me one moment. My apologies.
No problem.
All right, so Terran right now is bloodied. 1, 2 is going to be Quinn here. This guy is going to kind of like reaching out towards his back, grabbing a potion. He is going to punch into Terran, smashing this vial. Oh yeah, Fubar right now. He is going to deal 7 bludgeoning damage to you. I need you to make a Constitution saving throw, please. All right, you're gonna feel as your flesh kind of like burns a little bit. Apparently, this acid seems to not be terribly effective. There's no actual other effect from it. And it's gonna go to Terran.
Oh god, that 20 scared me. But okay, yeah. Terran's gonna retaliate, slashing into him. Oh, to the guy north of me, so to say.
Gotcha. Are you gonna do your bonus action to see if you finish them off, or are you splitting them and just going one into one and one into the other?
I'm gonna split him, and the other's gonna go to the one behind me.
Gotcha. Go for it. So you will be able to get full purchase on the guy like smashing this vial into you. As you kind of like stab into him, you're just going to kind of open up, and this dude's just going to fall kind of flayed. That is a decimating hit. Um, Potentially, like you could have killed him in one punch with that level of attack there. Gonna fall as you kind of swing off for the other person who's coming at you from behind. They are going to be able to duck and dodge at least enough of the attack. And any thoughts from moving Terran or from Quinn?
And let's see, Terran's gonna move a little bit, not too much. Just down there. I'm not sure if that's the right choice, but yeah, gonna do that. And then Quinn is gonna attack the guy who really hurt Terran.
Gotcha. The first one's going to get a solid hit. Second one, just kind of like clinking into its armor, is gonna catch just enough of one of the like brads that's keeping the leather together, where you're gonna grab that little bit of purchase that pulls into the flesh of their arm. Any other movement? Otherwise, it's 14.
Yeah, that's it. Let's see, 14 you. And Quinn is staying put.
So this will go to you, Jarek.
All right, so Jarek, seeing this guy laying into Terran, is going to charge up, dropping his bow, kind of pulling out his blades. Charging up here is going to slash out at the this Zentarum.
First attack's gonna come short. Second attack, solid hits. Doing 19.
And he's going to action surge, kind of shot of adrenaline, slashing out twice more.
The first attack's going to clip armor and just be reflected. Second attack will be a solid hit for another 9.
And then bonus action, he's going to disengage. Move down this way. And that will be his turn. And then Zeros is going after the same guy, firing Eldritch Blasts. And he's essentially trying to, as he's going, hopefully, as he's seeing these arrows fly out, trying to take a little bit of cover from behind one of these pillars from the threat up north of them.
I've never rolled Eku into things here. Do you guys want Eku in initiative? Do you want Eku to kind of fall apart? Did you guys ever discuss a signal to yell for Dragonbait and or Artis?
I didn't have a specific one. I thought, like, just so kind of more generically, we came up with one.
Gotcha.
Jarek's been hesitant to shout anything yet because his entire are looking for him, but seeing how badly Taryn's hurt.
What do you think about for Eku? Does it sound good that you would have like Eku hiding and you would have a call to her first and one for Artis separately? Is Eku just kind of at the back of all this now, seeing it kind of open up into battle?
Yeah, we didn't I don't think we discussed having Eku kind of hidden. So I feel like we kind of, the idea was to have her. She was with us, but kind of hanging back a little, not gonna. Um,
Quite literally rolled right behind you, anyways. Actually, she probably happens before you. Is your dexterity? I think she's maxed. She might be 18.
I got,
Actually.
I got 18 as well, +4.
Wait, I've got her shit written in as cheat sheet. Yeah, she's got 5 decks, so she
Oh
would
yeah.
be before you. But as far as things go, do you guys want bless from her?
That probably makes the most sense.
Roll a d4 for me, Justin, on yours. And Chris, roll. Oh, wait a second. Roll 2d4, actually. The first one needs a 4. Second one is an auto. Never mind. Second one doesn't matter. Chris, roll a d4 for yourself, please. You need a 3. Gotcha. So I think it makes that one hit. So just one hit from your cutlass, Jarek. I think we'll do the same thing. I'm willing to bless Quinn with her attack. She cannot get it for that Constitution save to stay alive.
Yeah, no, that would be kind of ridiculous.
So 8 more. Alrighty. So that's the same round still where you just action searched. Yeah, there was a full flurry of attacks there. Definitely going to be one of those situations where it's enough attacks between the two of you that this person's just kind of getting impaled, stabbed, slashed across from basically all directions. They are doing a great job defending themselves, but as they're kind of swarmed from three people, you can tell that this person is definitely out beyond their current capacity. From that, one of these figures is going to kind of running out of cover, is going to kind of pop out of some vines almost directly in front of Zeros. And you are going to see as this person kind of like leaps in front of you, Zeros, and just comes forward with a fist. And as the fist smashes across your face, you're just going to feel a wet sensation that is going to turn hot. And yeah, I think this just goes straight to a con save. Yeah, because it does 2d6, so a 12 maxes out at 1 extra damage. Yeah. So you're just going to have that kind of hot burning sensation, kind of same thing. It's going to neutralize fast enough that it doesn't quite take effect over Zeros. And then got another archer here is going to shoot into... Who's first of you? Is that Terran? Yeah, it's going to go for Terran. 2 arrow shots, one nat one, and I think that's a 17 as a hit,
Yeah, that is a hit.
and
And
it's
I'm
gonna
gonna.
do 12 damage.
Yeah, okay, I'm just gonna take that because it doesn't matter. So yeah, I am down.
If you reacted, it would still drop you if you did your half damage.
Yeah, it would still drop me.
Gotcha. Um, yeah, and I think as the woman is standing right above Terran as he is falling to the ground, Um, she is going to go in to put a dagger across Terran's face, and you all are going to see two people kind of floating about that same area where Orvex was dropped are going to kind of show up through the vapor. You're going to see as their fists kind of release this flame, and each of them are going to shoot these blasts of flame off into that direction. And let's see, what's the second? Yeah, both of them are going to hit. The first one, yeah, as this figure kind of reaches down towards Terran's body, you're going to see as these two figures kind of like come out of this cloaked state where you can't see them floating in air. The fireballs kind of fly from their hands and just pass across this distance before igniting that person, like reaching over into Terran. And you're just going to kind of hear in common from like a young, kind of soft female voice, just seems to be kind of calmly amongst those two who are floating in there. That'll be just about enough. What have we here? And that person is going to fall to the ground dead. Pretty much on top of Terran. Oh shit, did I just hide them? Do do do. After Archer, Orvex. Orvex is just going to kind of like still landing in that area from that leap. You're going to see as he kind of runs to the east, and he is going to kind of reach out and punch into just a little bit of unseen. There's no reason for him to have advantage there. The first one's going to miss. The second one, there's just going to be a scream. And he is, I don't even know if that is possible. Yeah, I think he's just going to have just somebody like gutted on the end of his blade. They're not actually dead, but he's just going to kind of like run over to this point where you're going to see him stab into kind of like vines before like this person's going to be kind of pulled out into the open. And I think after Orvex, yeah, I think it might turn into a conversation for a minute here. Nope, never mind. I lied. They're just gonna attack right back into Orvex. Um, First miss, second miss. Apparently a little more mortal of a wound. Another hunter, kind of aiming down at you all. Is gonna attack into Eku. First, those will hit. Gonna deal 12. Eku on concentration. Bless is gonna fall. Yeah, just as Orvex kind of stepped up to and attacked into somebody who didn't seem to be there, there's going to be another figure who kind of steps up behind Orvex and in two clean slashes is just going to decapitate Orvex, and his body is going to slump down to the ground. Over the next few seconds here, you are going to see as four more creatures, humanoids, are going to kind of pop up in the air just above where they dropped off Orvex. That whole area around where they just killed Orvex is going to start popping like popcorn as you see like a massive font of fire kind of form and explode. You're going to see a black cloud start to like rain down acid over these two, and then smaller little pops that kind of like almost splash the acid around in still large areas. But there's no fire kind of associated with these. But they're just going to be, what is that? Two more pops, the explosion of fire, and like the kind of like acid rain. And that's going to effectively kill these two that are in that southern end. Um, More or less at that point, you're going to start to see as these Zant who still remain around are going to start to kind of recognize um, there's been a little bit change of story here. And for what it is worth, you guys can kind of be in a soft area where it's going to come around to Taryn. Um, oh, wait, did you say you actually went down, Taryn?
Yep, I went down.
Gotcha. So we're gonna start off with just a D20 from you. If you can set it to secret and just roll a D20 for me to see. We're actually basically, yeah. I mean, it goes to Eku. I feel like that's always kind of to a roll. I would say Eku is inclined to run and heal Terran. Do you guys want to stop that before you basically have a chance to figure out what is going on here?
I mean, Jarek's thinking the same thing. He's planning to go to check on Taryn as this all kind of happens, so he would not be stopping Eku if she essentially was moving to do the same. he's moving the same direction, kind of.
Gotcha. Do you have any issue with that from like Quinn, basically?
No. No.
Gotcha. So in between kind of that time, this figure is going to float across. Uh, with a closer look on this figure, you're going to see she is a younger lady. Half of her face is scarred. And when she gets probably any closer to you, you're going to see that it's not actually scarification, it is age wrinkles that like the predominant side of her face, the face that like she will almost always face you off to a side, like a little bit of an angle. Her predominant face that she shows is a very young, kind of mid 20-year-old woman. The left side of her face, which she almost has always turned away from you, seems to be aged. And you can kind of see that there's like maybe like 20% of her hair is growing from that kind of left side, and it's all just a stark white, where the rest of her hair is kind of like a soft blonde. You can see it mostly when the sun catches it, but there's definitely like a subtle kind of pull of your eye, like where you see this little bit of white. But this figure kind of like slowly lands and is gonna like start walking across this consort. That's the wrong word. But kind of walking towards Jarek as you look back towards Taryn. Doesn't seem to be reacting in any other way, other than just kind of like flowing down to the ground, looking back towards those other two who kind of like just killed off Orvex, and just, well, with all that sorted out, I believe we had a scheduled meeting.
Are we kind of still in
So,
initiative, or?
my bad. I did want to clarify. Eku can actually get to him and cast Healing Touch. She will have to dash at that distance to close it. So he's technically still down right now. I actually feel like I'd rather take a break here because I need to take a break, and I'd rather do this whole experience as one go. If that sounds good to leave you time at the start of your turn, Jarek, to decide where you guys go.
Yeah, works for me.
And then before you go, to answer that, I'm gonna leave it in initiative as long as you feel it's necessary. If you guys go passive, um, we can kind of close things, because if they take it hostile, I'm going to basically surprise you with a fresh initiative. Versus like if you guys kind of just continue it right away, you guys are still in initiative. You can kind of assume. Yeah, I guess I would have to describe if the person is casting a spell. So I would say on some level this person's already showing a passive tendency, but I'll let you still decide. Like initiative's there until you guys kind of go without. But this person at first at least is going to show the first step of not starting to cast something. They're not at least holding a spell.
Gotcha. Okay.
But let's take 15. See you guys at 15 after.
Yep. Sounds good.
All right. Yeah. Hello. I'm back.
Yep, I'm back as well. Whatever poison that guy's using is nasty.
And yes, it was.
Yeah, the assassin doesn't really scale on the CR system because you take an average, and that's like they're definitely a character meant to hit hard once.
Yeah, I like the idea of playing an assassin, but the class itself, yeah, kind of.
This is not quite the same as the class though.
Okay.
It kind of has assassinate still, but assassinate in general, like I don't think most people are ever going to get an assassinate off. To assassinate a player is quite a mean thing to do. It's like saying, "Hey, you've got downtime." Oh, you decided to do something during your downtime? You just got assassinated. Part of why, like, Orvis was definitely like a KO there is I quite literally, like, double crit him.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So it's something like 7, 14, 18, 36 dice plus 6. I don't think there's any reason to assume he can live through that. But like technically you put that against a group of 4 level 8 characters, the assassin isn't shit. It's just a very, very weird CR because it hits like a truck. Yeah, and that's without its sneak attack too. Because once a turn it also gets sneak attack. I probably could have snuck attack on Terran too. So I'm all set here. We can jump in. Part of what I was doing is I wanted to make sure my speakers were good. They are still connected correctly here. So again, we're kind of at you, Jarek, here. There's kind of like an initial lull. It's still kind of in the moment of things going on. You've seen the wizards kind of melt, burn, and in kind of a force reminiscent to Zeros, kind of explode these people around Orvex. But you still have those archers firing over your shoulder from the roof. And there is still one of these people like smashing vials into like the face of Zeros. But it is on you to kind of continue in that moment here.
Yeah, so I think Jarek is kind of at the same time as Eku was rushing over, is running over as Terran goes down, kind of dropping his short sword and reaching into his pack to try to essentially kind of like press like a compress against some of like the worst of the wounds, and using his healer's kit on Terran, kind of even as he's like looking back over his shoulder towards the woman who's appeared.
I was about to say solid for 15, and then I saw it was a d6.
Yeah, most of that comes from the levels, to be honest.
It's really weird that switch to see it in time. But you've got 15 hit points there, Terran. That's solidly your turn. If you do all that silently, Jarek, you are more than welcome to go to Zeros, who is currently still being attacked, is probably not so calm. If Zeros saw Jarek do that, I wonder what Zeros thinks.
Yeah, Jarek is kind of just like looking back, the only thing he'd be kind of saying um to the woman is kind of like unwelcome visitors. Doesn't have time to really respond too much more in depth right now. His focus is on Taryn.
Gotcha. I think she kind of said something to that effect. That's like the verbiage I used. I don't remember from beforehand. But to kind of keep up that banter is perfectly acceptable.
And Zeros is kind of, as this guy kind of appears in front of him, he's going to kind of be moving back instinctively, taking the opportunity attack if one's coming.
Yeah, so he's just going to kind of throw another punch towards you. Um, this is kind of where his kind of bonus comes in. He punches with that poison attack. Oh yeah, so it's the 2d6. It's essentially a con save here. There's only a little bit of a chance. Yep. So you are good. I think you have to roll an 11, and then I should check. And if I roll a 12, that's where it would matter.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No, I don't even think that's enough. It's so hard to get above the 10 because it's got to be 22. So you can go through that. That poisoner guy. Oh yeah, my bad. That was just to step away from him. First one's gonna hit for 3 more. I think he's doing pretty solid here. Second one is just gonna kind of fly past.
Yep. And Zeros is kind of he's too focused on this guy to really say much.
Yeah, so I think we're probably gonna have him like 1 through 4 is he's just keeping after Zeros, not even paying attention to the others. So turning around, Jarek would be 5, 6. That's Echo. Yeah, so he's just gonna kind of like going from that to like smashing out towards Zeros. As you kind of break away, he's going to like run back to kind of smash into Echo, kind of grabbing another belt from, or not another belt, another vial from his belt. You'll just see as his fists are kind of like constantly just grasping for these. He's going to smash a vial into Echo. What she does. I'm sure she'll fail that save. She'll take the full 9, and she's going to be poisoned as they kind of start to sink into her. So that's him. Archer's still. So this first archer is actually going to bug out. They're going to effectively be disappeared before anybody really reacts. Orvex is a feature of the map right now. The other archer's going to stand firm. I think it's just a D5 to see who he's shooting at of you all. And that archer is. Oh, I should look at the wizard too. So 5's going to be, I think that's Zeros. So 2 arrows into Zeros here. 14 might be a 16. I think the 16's the hit though.
14
2
would hit
saves.
as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, both of those are going to fail. That's 2 wounds. Just as the arrow just kind of shoots right across, kind of standing firm, seeing the other one hold there, or the other one break away. You're going to see. Let's see. I think that cycles back around to Terran healed on the ground, and I think I'm just going to move these wizards kind of forward. None of them are casting spells. None of them are essentially holding a spell, as they all just kind of like group up in the same area. You're going to see none of them step in front of where this one is who has like the aged face, who kind of like is going to stick out as you see all of them kind of land. None of them are really coming down on their feet, and they're just kind of standing behind her. You will see the other 3 just kind of making their way, and then behind them 2 more kind of coming up. You'll see the 2 in the back still kind of floating like the others. Only the woman in the front is kind of touching the ground. And I think that takes us pretty much perfectly to Terran.
All right, Terran is gonna. Yeah, he's just gonna drop his knives and pull out his short bow and try to shoot at the archer that's still there. Oh,
Still
I'm still
focused on me. It's just gonna fly past it. You do not have extra attack. Anything bonus action wise? Otherwise, you're just kind of standing up. You're like plinking backwards, and then I assume kind of looking to the wizards.
yeah, basically. I'm just gonna stay there.
What
Feel
do you
safe.
expect Quinn would do? Is Quinn like growling at him, pulling her bow?
I mean, yeah, probably. She's not very happy at the moment, so let's see. Yeah, but she's gonna follow suit and shoot. Oh, how did we say when I roll for the
I
bow?
think
But just a
just do like
D20?
a normal attack. You can either do the D6 or a D20 and add like 4 for her. I'm not sure what we can call her dexterity. Really, it's a dexterity check. And then just do what, a D8 damage. Is she a halfling or a gnome?
No,
Yeah, halfling.
no,
Okay,
she's
yeah, she's human.
yeah.
Definitely can use a longbow, so it's just a D8. So like a dexterity check and then a D8 for damage. Yeah, so that's a solid arrow shot. And it would do. It's crazy to think their dex is just flat 0, but 4 damage. Um, word. And she would have 2 attacks, so you can do another one.
All right, forget about that.
Yeah, so that one's definitely going to be a big ol' miss. So, as you guys kind of get Terran like in a like combat bandaged up and start to kind of like reach back, as far as everything goes, you can kind of plink off these next 2 people. Um, Narratively, at this point, it'll kind of be a part of what's going to play out here. As this little lady's going to kind of like um, just kind of like moving towards you. And you'll see once she's actually on her own weight, she's moving with kind of like a hitch to her body, as there's like a full aged side of her. And that includes part of like her bones kind of evidently shrinking, that she walks a little bit lopsided. And she's going to, again, kind of constantly turn to where the younger side is kind of facing you a little bit more than the other, but kind of just moving forward with a couple of like ticks, like I don't even know if I can do that over the microphone, but just kind of like a tisk tisk, kind of listen to me, and she's pulling your focus away from these people. While there is one of them still like smashing these vials into Eku, and she's like calling for your attention and just kind of like looks back towards her wizards, who are kind of forming up behind her. Um, Going to kind of leave that for your reactions here as she's kind of calling them forward after this. But like that's while Eku and Jarek are going to kind of be again in these first few moments while it's still in kind of combat here. That's kind of how they're reacting to it. But do you have thoughts as she kind of does this?
Yeah, Jarek is kind of like just like kind of throwing back, like "be right with you" as he kind of grabs up his short sword again and moves to actually try to finish off the one attacking Eku.
Got you.
Um,
So Eku will give you the help action as she kind of starts to change her shape in a way and starts to kind of like pull this creature, like almost flaying it out in front of you. She's just holding it still. I'm gonna kind of take that as a different kind of like she doesn't always have to be a goody two shoes. This person's evil.
Yeah.
But go for that with advantage is kind of what I was getting at. Yeah, 11 more, 17. 26. Yeah, so as you kind of like spin back on this guy, what are you going for? Slashing right now with the cutlass? Kind of like two strikes almost Xing out into this, and then just like piercing right into his heart. He's just going to come still, and Eku can kind of like slowly rest him down to the ground. Any other like saying from Jarek? Otherwise, anything from Zeros?
Zeros would just be kind of trying to fire off at the having taken 2 arrows, he'd be turning his attention towards the last remaining archer if he can see them. And
Yeah, go for it.
the second one should hit for 8.
Yeah, I think the second one's the one. 8 more. Alrighty. So, yeah, so the two of you kind of like spinning on those two as she kind of like tisks back to the others then from behind her to come forward. I think you'll kind of see as the three wizards who are all kind of sat behind the others, one of which you guys will not be able to see until they actually start to cast. These three wizards are going to kind of like move forward along the kind of like right side of the others, and are just kind of like focus in, and eventually like almost correct as you guys actually kill the guy who's attacking Eku. And then they like focus all three of them into that wizard. They're going to cast those pretty similar spells though. Will you hear kind of like a popping, no actual like explosion, and then you're just going to see as the archers kind of like crushed inside of this little like sphere of space, and they're going to fall to the ground. So they just kind of like move over there. As far as that goes, like at present, I think you guys have showed enough that you're not initially going in. As far as how I'm reading everything, they're not initially looking for combat with you as well. So you're going to kind of see this like relaxation of things. One of the three immediately behind the kind of like old young lady is a woman. The other two are men. You all would have encountered the two men in the two different meetings that you have seen. I don't think anything especially would mark them off one from the other as any different in what you had seen before. Very similar robes, very similar like red and black across all, what is it, 7 of these wizards who are kind of in front of you here. Um, from your description, I think that you all would have had over time with Orvex, and they will end up using each other's names in these next few moments. You can gather that Zagmira is the one who is in front. She is the young lady who is like an old woman. Thasma is the other woman who is behind her. just kind of mid-30s, dark hair. You heard her as the one that Orvex was traveling basically with last. It was the wizard he had seen last. The other one is Dyrax is one of the males, and Yamak is the other male. How much you guys care about that doesn't really matter, but they kind of use their names over a while. They seem to have like a little bit of conversation kind of behind, but they overall seem like between themselves. They're saying a lot. And Zagmira will kind of look back at them on occasion. But they're basically talking through all of this, where she's going to kind of come down and move towards you. The others are just kind of standing back. And with the guests taken care of, I believe it might be time for aid. We are to understand from Orvex that you had gathered most of the cubes and were looking to treat with us for ours.
Jarek will kind of moving forward a bit towards towards her, kind of putting his weapons away, kind of in a show of you know um, non aggression.
My bad, I meant to assume her moving forward and all of that. So theoretically, you two are close to each other at that point.
Gotcha. Yeah. Jarek will nod, and he will kind of well, first say, just kind of as like an icebreaker, like appreciate the help, kind of nodding back towards the bodies of the ones who had killed Orvax. Um, and then your understanding is correct. He would wait for kind of like Taryn to come and join him before he said too much else.
Moving forward, she would kind of like look to Taryn. She's not going to speak before you go to. Or maybe she would say, and you, little one. Oh, did you lose your mic? No, we cannot hear you. Maybe push to talk isn't working.
Yeah, I don't see lighting up Discord.
Now, can you hear me?
There we go.
Perfect. Some reason it changed my mic in the middle of everything.
It's like the joys of Bluetooth.
Yeah, that happens to me sometimes. It's just like it loses the connection and then it resets itself, and I have to go and fix it.
Thing is, I'm not even using Bluetooth at the moment. I am cabled up.
I spent the last week having issues because I think I have an old audio cable that I normally use for like my speakers when I'm not on Bluetooth. It was definitely a pain in the ass to find out that it's just hardware.
Yeah, so sorry, Taryn, were you saying something to the wizard?
I lost my train of thought, but no, nothing. Like I can't remember saying. I think I was just gonna say like I hobbled up and kind of just being like, very showboating about it. Damn, I'm hurt.
Um. So yeah, she's kind of like looking to you all to see like there's a deal to be made here. And she's kind of approaching forward. She'll kind of like watches Taryn kind of approaches. Um, I think at some point, probably offering you all the choice of we need to send an expedition to find what can be found. You have quite the collection of cubes, and I have enough to prevent you from being able to get in. I had hoped that perhaps we could find the assistance that we need from you.
Jarek will kind of clench his jaw, he knows they have to, make another deal, and what she says is accurate. They can prevent them. Um, so he'll kind of like clench his jaw, kind of nod. Um, if if you were to give us the remaining cubes, then be willing to prefer our assistance. Almost kind of like spitting out the word willing, but what did you have in mind?
I don't foresee any reason why I should assume that you can survive to your goal. And I don't see any reason why I shall hinder it. I would invite you to enter first, but you can have my cubes for the price of information. I would like to contact you and learn what I can from your wanderings with it.
Jarek will kind of glance towards Taryn, trying to get a sense of thinks before he responds.
If there's nothing that makes you question, then we are set to move forward. And you would have the cubes, and she'll kind of like reach out and just kind of like a cube's gonna form inside of her hand, and we can begin.
When you say you seek information, this will limit yourself to information about temple environs.
I'll give you a choice. As to the full matter of our agreements, if you feel kind, I would put a rather harmless spell onto you, and we would be able to have communications between ourselves. And I can ask you about the way in that you all have found, and anything that would be of assistance for myself to enter the tomb at a later date.
Jarek will kind of think about that for a few moments and then nod. I would not object to that.
Then I think more properly we are in business.
Would assume we are.
You're gonna have so many spells on top of you that Jarek is pretty much gonna die when these all like implode.
He's made a lot of deals that he'd rather not, but it's like every time he's kind of forced to, and yeah, not sure how all these will interact with each other, and yeah.
I mean, realistically, this one's gonna be pretty simple. I'm trying to look for the spell length real quick.
Is this that like telepathic bond one or that's well, Jarek wouldn't know, so don't tell me.
Yeah, so over the next few moments, she's just going to kind of like reach out her hand over you and just start to kind of like uh speaking in a pretty dark language here. It would be pretty horrific to hear. Let's see. Yeah, both of you have pretty normal languages. I don't think you'd have a big reason to know. Um, yeah, she's just going to kind of go about this. It is purely a little verbal spell that she is going to cast, just kind of hand out above your head. And at the end of this, she's just going to basically ask. Um, there's a question that is, or like a command kind of that is held. And she's basically going to ask you, I need you to tell me the truth about the ways that you find in and around the tomb. Um, and it's going to drop with that, and she'll kind of like look back at you. As far as this goes, this is the spell Gaius. Um, if you break this, which you consciously can, there's like psychic damage, so you can like feel this as you get close to truly trying to break that thought. If you decided to, there's like psychic damage that will hurt you. You can feel all of that. So she's asking you to tell her the ways that you learn, like in and around this dungeon that you're about to go into. How that communication is going to happen, you don't yet know, but you'll kind of feel all of that right away. That there's just like a discord to trying to fight it, but you can like actively think about it.
Gotcha. Okay.
After kind of finishing that, she'll reach into a bag, pull out another cube, the cube that she formed in her hand, she'll form again, reach them out to you. She has no reason to hold back the cubes. I think you all would be close enough here to see her forehead, where she does have a black sigil, like tattooed and like etched into her forehead. Neither of you have Arcana, but you're close enough to see the symbol. Do either of you have any reason that like the symbol would be curious to you? Um, Even if it's potentially like Zeros who is carrying.
Zeros might be interested. Jarek, I think, would be. Um, he
He
wouldn't really have any reason.
he might have Arcana. If he's got Arcana, do that roll. Otherwise, go for um, Charisma for him, simply because that's like his skill. It would be his connection.
Yeah, no, Zeros has religion, not Arcana.
Yeah, he could do religion. That's fine. Yep, not going to make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jarek will, kind of reach out to take the cubes. He'll kind of like acknowledge like his understanding of kind of his task to tell her about the what she wants to know about the ways into the tomb.
You're going to see, like, as the three wizards kind of behind her are going to quiet up a little bit, the two on the right are both like grabbing little coin purses and handing the purses to the wizard on the left.
If Jarek notices this, he's going to kind of like give him like a little side glance and then a just like a snort. Um, but otherwise, he will not say anything at that.
I'll be keeping a closer eye on you. But be safe and enjoy your trip in powerful places.
Jarek will nod and he'll kind of like he'll say like tell you one thing now you may already know, but the King of Feathers seems to habit the area around the tomb entrance to be. And he would go on, if it looks like, or if she asks about kind of who the what the King of Feathers is, they might already know, but he would kind of fill in details of what he knows, um, uh, that they don't already know. Almost as like a sign of goodwill kind of thing.
So Shoes kind of like turn back like with a pause for you. And uh I just don't know how clearly she would react to the thought of the King of Feathers. I have it kind of. I think that's her ignorance. Oh yeah, you guys can't even see these rolls. Yeah, you can see that. I think that's her ignorance. I think they were there, and she's going to kind of turn around, with like a little bit of surprise, and King of Feathers, and like as you kind of explain it some more, once the idea of a Tyrannosaurus comes up, the roar is clear enough that it's a Tyrannosaurus. The fact that it's undead is definitely something new, but pretty classically Cholt. I think the idea that like there's zombies inside of it, like Chris was saying, I'm not sure if it vomits them out or if they just crawl out. It's kind of a mix of both. When it roars, they make their way out. I don't think it would be. It's a pretty intelligent creature, um, like on the paper. I don't think it would be unsurprised to find out that if it's roaring, it's pretty much spewing zombies to eat its prey. Um, but yeah, I think Zagmira hadn't actually encountered it, and overall is going to have kind of a little twist of like interesting. Um, and I don't think she's going to necessarily admit explicitly that they were there yesterday, but there's like that little bit of her initial answer will be almost like connecting those dots where she's kind of thinking out loud with like, that's what we heard quieted yesterday. Um, but yeah, she's just kind of feeling. Doesn't try to give up too much more.
Yeah, and Jarek is I don't think he's insightful enough to notice if she's kind of hedging at all. So he kind of look again towards Taryn to see if he had anything to add, but otherwise Jarek
You
has.
can roll an insight if you'd like. Just tell me what you're trying to figure out.
I guess to see whether, like, when he initially says like the King of Feathers, when he goes to start explaining what it is, like whether um he can tell if she already knows about it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. Oh wait, that 3 was on a D6. That's not nearly as important. Um, I thought I rolled that on a D20 and she was like confused. That's still low. My kind of idea, though, I guess regardless, just taking it as it was, I was seeing that as like a 3 on a D20 where her reaction was on her sleeves. Yeah, I don't think there's anything to like interpret beyond that because that's what I was trying to say is like her initial like reaction was kind of that moment where two dots are connecting in her mind. She's trying not to give up that she was at the entrance of the tomb, but you can see like that's like connecting in her head when she kind of spins like we heard something like that. You know what I mean? She gives up
Gotcha.
more than
Okay.
she wants in that like armchair reaction. No, that's the wrong way.
Gotcha. Yeah, and Jarek would not really have any reason to suspect that they might have been up that way, kind of beyond, up at the tomb already. So he would not be trying to like look for anything to give that away. So
So if you guys don't have anything else to pry into them, the red wizards are quite literally coming to you guys with this offer. Like, you can have our cubes, just give us the information. They are otherwise not trying to hinder you at this point. If you are good to go, you guys can start heading back up there. As far as things go, I just want to leave this basically open to you guys to interpret. Um, I'm ready to get you guys into the dungeon. A lot of these things are kind of paying off. Um, I think things that you all made as big choices earlier in the game.
yeah, I just want to make sure Chris is not having like mic issues again. That he.
Nope, I'm just quiet.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure you. Yeah, didn't want to.
So you all have a little bit of a choice at least to make, kind of in this initial time, like right after this noon meeting. If you assume that's about an hour, I would say you all are pretty good to call that a short rest here. And we'll kind of start from that. So you can regain some hit dice in that kind of negotiation time. I don't think there's any reason to kind of like mishmash about that. I think as far as travel time goes, you guys probably have about 2 or 3 hours of travel time. to get to the actual dungeon entrance area, which I'll basically have you guys kind of tell me like how you want to approach it past where you've stopped effectively clearing that top area. But kind of like the way I was thinking about it is we'll do like 2 rolls each to see. The first one's just going to be a roll of a d12 each on kind of that first hour traveling. Yeah. So, how are you guys leaving on this first hour? Just kind of traveling across and to the location, doing the same thing as yesterday, crossing, going across where you've cut, and going north.
Yeah, I think we might as well kind of retrace our steps and make use of some of the clearing that we've already done.
Gotcha. Let me get a d10 from each of you as you all continue along that route over the next hour afterwards. And then when you all basically get back up to that area where you had gone left and started to make your way towards the stadium, where the King of Feathers at least used to be, a little bit to the north of where you are. I guess it was actually south of where you were, where you guys actually fought the King of Feathers the other day. And then you've got a path that you've already cut to the east of you. How would you like to move forward from there?
Yeah, so Jarek is thinking we might it makes more sense essentially break off here, try and I mean that thing is big enough, it's not, it's not going to be it just probably walk over this concourse essentially if it had to, right? So he's thinking maybe we just try and kind of make a straight shot, continue on north.
Concourse is definitely a little bit easier to move through than the rest of the jungle. So that's definitely the reason to stay up top of it. Sound good to you, Taryn?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I think
All
that's
right.
what we
Just
decided on last time too.
going straight to the wall. Let me get 2 survivals from you both here, and then then let me get a d6 from each of you. Bam. All right. Yeah, as far as things go, when you all head towards the north, you're going to just kind of like breaking those trails, moving along, eventually hopping down at it's probably essentially a guard post, kind of walking down to the lower level. You are essentially right on top of the kind of like whole area of Omu is kind of below you. You are right up to the wall of the cliffs, and you can kind of see you have um, a right or a left turn basically to choose. For what it's worth, you guys basically pick the right way. You are going to eventually start walking along the wall. You know to look for.
The obelisk.
Gotcha. Do you remember what the obelisk was made of?
Hold on, I have it in my notes. I think it was obsidian.
Yep, that's correct. So at some point, approximately, you guys are looking at like 3, 4 in the afternoon. There's still like 60 degrees Right? Yeah, I think about 60 degrees of the sun above the horizon. And you all are just kind of like walking up towards this area where you're getting away from the actual buildings. You have the last few buildings to the south of you. You are going to see kind of just a big open field open up where the cliff kind of like drops in under itself and has this kind of big open chasm. So like maybe something kind of like that is all kind of lipped over in stone. And you guys can kind of see this entryway ahead of you where there is a large, like 12-foot tall black obelisk. It's black obsidian and it's just like covered in vines where it's almost like a black and green, and it's like this like kind of like jade, kind of vibrant jade green, cut across this like obsidian stone. The stone itself is probably the height of a man. As you guys get closer, it is about twice the height of a man. And you can see this thing is just kind of balanced on this tiniest little point of stone below it. But the stone below is probably about 2 feet, like a meter high. So it's like an hourglass almost, but like the whole obsidian stone like just balances above it.
So Jarek is going to walk towards it, start walking towards the obelisk. Um, Essentially wants to like kind of walk around it, looking, not pulling away any of the vines yet, but almost kind of looking around the base, seeing if he sees any runes or writing. Oh, and I think as they were traveling, Jarek would have handed back the cubes to Taryn so that they're all in one place again.
Gotcha. So Terran has all the cubes as long as Terran agrees with this.
Yeah,
I
Jarek will
mean, yeah,
offer.
fine. Yeah, sure. I'll carry all the cubes.
I feel like it's like an infinity stone kind of thing where you don't want to be the person who like doesn't want or who's carrying them because everybody else wants them. Only they're not giving you infinity stone powers. Uh Without clearing away the vines, let me get a perception check. Let's see how good of a job you're kind of like looking, even though you're still not clearing them away. Yeah, so you're noticing enough of these signs that are written into this obelisk that you can kind of like peep around and make out pretty quickly that there's script beneath the vines. You can't make out enough just with this quick look here. You could put a little bit of effort into clearing away the vines and figure out what these say, or at least more information from them if you recognize the language.
Once he sees that there's kind of writing behind or like covered by the vines, he would start to kind of maybe tentatively at first, like reaching out the first time because he's not sure if there's something like sort of weird thing with this obelisk. But assuming nothing happens immediately as he starts to pull away a couple of the vines, he would go about it um, more quickly, trying to just kind of like maybe using a dagger to cut some away and ripping some others off and that sort of thing.
All right. So as you kind of clear away and start to get a clear sign of this, you can see written around the obelisk is just a long, like steady single script. and it just goes around the whole thing in a circle. So as you just kind of read, it would be too confusing if I picked a random spot and started there. So I'm going to say there's something that makes it seem like there's a starting point. But it says, the enemies oppose, one stands between them. In darkness it hides, don the mask or be seen. Speak no truth to the doomed child. The keys turn on the inside only. And I'll have a picture of that I can drop into Discord for you guys.
Okay. The enemies oppose, one stands between them. Darkness it hides, don the mask or be seen. Speak no truth to the doomed child, keys turn on the inside only. Jarek's gonna kind of like read that, look towards Taryn, and like make any sense to you.
I mean, not really. Not at the moment, at least.
Yes, Jarek will. I mean, assuming in some sense Island is still with us, he would just maybe have him write down, the script to so we can refer to it later because Jarek's not sure he'll remember that entire thing. Um, but yeah, he will kind of having read that, he'll look towards the kind of the opening, then towards Taryn, and those we head in.
So when you all look kind of north from where you are, you can see that there is an entrance kind of just directly to the north of where the obelisk is. And then a little bit to the east of you, there's another area where the vines kind of open up, and you can see a little bit of light kind of sneaking through to the east and kind of falling into this tiny little cave off to the side.
Jarek's going to look towards the kind of the side entrance and then towards Taryn, and might be better than stopping through the front door, so to speak.
Yeah, but sure, but just thinking it might be trapped. Side, we do have the. I mean, the cubes were the keys to the front door, right?
Theoretically. Uh, did I never scale this map? This looks really tiny, or you guys are really big. Oh yeah, I definitely never scaled this map. This map's a little bit bigger than it currently looks. My apologies. There's no way to change this while you guys are still kind of exploring this area. So for now, you can kind of still have the map a little bit. The size of your miniatures is probably 4 times too big right now. That little hall that you're gonna kind of see opening up like to the right of where I've got Terran here, that's like a 5 foot little corridor. The area to the north of this obelisk is like a 10 foot corridor. The obelisk itself is quite a large, like, piece of stone. It's like a multi-ton, like, rock sitting there. So when I said like you're walking around it to like see that whole translation, it takes that much time. And it's still like big script. Uh, I didn't realize this map looks so small right like this.
Gotcha.
The idea to go into that right one, you kind of have one bring it up, and then one of you is kind of looking back towards what seems like the larger main entrance.
Well, Taryn has been more useful in some of the other temples and figuring things out. So Jarek, I think, is going to defer to him.
I mean, I feel like we have been pretty useful, both, all of us.
Whichever way you think might be best, Taryn.
Oh God, pressure. No, well, Rocket. Let's check the side entrance. See how it looks, and if it looks weird, we can try the front entrance.
Jarek will nod.
Gotcha. So the first thing you're going to see as you approach that side entrance, just coming closer to it, you're going to immediately see that inside about 10 or 15 feet there are two statues. One of them facing the other. From a distance, you probably can't make out a whole lot, but moving in, you'll pretty quickly see that one of them is. See, the Jakuli, which is Mao, is the snake. It's kind of like a snake-headed. And then Wango, which is the monkey, the Sioux monster. And I think Wango is on the north side, and Jakuli, the snake, is on the south. Going in there, though, you all will need light. You can't really see.
Terran will light his rings. Is for him.
Gotcha. And are you going to walk in first, Taryn?
Yeah, unless Yarrick wants to, but yeah, I can walk in first.
So the Chikuli and Sioux monster, those two were Derek's recalling the tale of the nine trickster gods. Those two were enemies, right? Yeah, the Sioux monster hid the pail of water and the Chikuli's burrow, right? And then we have the obelisk. Enemies opposed. One stands between them.
So I just want to confirm here. Are you asking Chris or are you trying to ask me?
I think that would be Jarek kind of trying to recall and looking to Taryn for like almost confirmation. Sorry.
I'll go like, yeah, I think I remember it like that too. Yeah, no. Stu Monster and Jakuli. Yeah, those were definitely enemies.
So as you walk in, the little bit of light that your rings are creating is not really enough that you're shining light onto these things. until you have to kind of head further and further in. And you're basically about to see, Taryn, as you're kind of like reaching out and you're shining light out of your hands, almost like reaching out, like with this light. You're going to see as you get closer to these things, each of them is holding a little bowl in kind of like a unique way. Like the monkey, the Sioux monster, might be holding the bowl in one of its feet, um, just like a hand, but it's just holding it with a foot. And the snake has like a bowl kind of like rested in a loop that, or in a kind of like a curved like loop of its tail, just kind of like curved down, pretty much the same height as the Sioux monster, just a different way its anatomy is holding this bowl. And as you kind of step in closer with your hands out, there's going to be a point where each of those bowls is going to flash red and catch fire and start to burn. And as they light up, you're going to see that there are two statues just beyond them by another about 10 feet.
All right. Well, this is either really bad or we're on the right path.
And kind of in a similar way, they're kind of just beyond the light, where you can see that there seems to be statues even further down, but you can make out the next two statues seem to be a bunny rabbit with a pointy, long tail, or not tail, horn, an almirage, and then a little bear with kind of like big old claws, a Zorbo.
So for some additional light, Jarek is going to light up a torch and have Zeros be carrying it behind him.
Gotcha. So as you light that, you're going to kind of see a little bit further. But right now, like those actual lights that they light up when he gets close to them, that's going to happen. As you move past those two, the next two are going to catch fire. As you continue to move into this route, this corridor, you're just going to see once you're about 10 feet away from this next statue, it's going to catch on fire. All of them have these same bowls as you're eventually standing inside of there, um, you'll see that there are the eight monkeys, or not eight monkeys, the eight statues. Did I miss one set, or is it just not showing on my laptop? I think I just missed.
I see four.
Bam, that's what I missed. Yeah, so as you're walking down this corridor, by the time you're like really in the heart of this corridor, you're going to see eight of these pots of fire burning. Once you kind of look around, you'll see beyond the Zorbo and the Almirage is the bird, the Eblis, as well as the frog Hemoth, the like frog with the tentacles. And then on the final row, you are going to see a grung and the four tentacled cats. Can't think what it's called. The Commandant.
Kumadan.
Yeah. So you kind of see those. Yeah, it's more or less this area senses it. By the time you're kind of sensing that there's eight of these easily in view, your passive perception's high enough. Oh, that's killing. I still have or island. Um, you'll see that there is another statue that is blocked off behind like a drop down kind of metal grate, and between the metal and the vines you can barely see some of the like flickers of light, that there is a ninth statue that is burning beyond, but you are in this little hallway. Any thoughts while you have these nine bowls kind of catching fire around you? Oh, the last one, by the way, is a flail snail.
All right. And that one, the last one, was hidden behind. something. Pick it up.
Yeah, so realistically, like the way this plays out is like if you walk into that place with the cube, it's going to light up the proper statue. The fact that one person has all 9 cubes, it's not like a guess of like, oh my god, 4 of these lit up. It must mean something. Like you have those 9 on, all 9 lit up. You can see the secret one because it lit up. Um, if somebody had walked in here with like any other cube set, they might never recognize that one because it's hidden. It's effectively out of view, except for the fact that it is creating light back there.
Yeah, maybe that's the one that stands between the one that in darkness hides. So Jarek's going to look towards Taryn. I think we have to maybe use the cubes with these bowls. See any?
Taryn will look around, see if there's any kind of indentations or anything to like for the cubes to fit. Don't yeah, look around.
Looking on these statues, I don't think there's any reason to see any spot for the cube to like push into an indentation. They don't seem to have any particularly circular markings on them.
Then as he's looking around and doesn't find anything, and can you see if there's any way to like open up or get to the snail statue behind that was hidden?
Roll a perception check. Yeah, so taking a moment to look, you're just going to be able to kind of like look over this little grate that's kind of covered by these vines. Takes you a moment to see that there's a little bit of a latch. Maybe it's the type of thing that you're able to kind of reach through with one of your thieves' tools to just like pick the latch on the other side of the grate. It's going to start to slide up. A little bit of noise, but otherwise kind of fine workmanship on how smooth it works for how like ancient. And this is all, I think I said steel, but I'm gonna go for all stone. But as it kind of rises, you are going to look back over Ankh, having at some point in looking over this door, seen that there is a silver pendant that is hanging around one of the like hammers of the flail snail. And where like the others are holding the bowl, this one just has like this pendant that is hanging down from it.
Oh, Taryn will take the pin and well, kind of look at it, see if there's anything special about it, or if it's just like a silver pendant.
Um, it has like a really fine jewel, say something like a damn, I was trying to think of August's birthstone. Um, Peridot. Let's say it's got an obsidian kind of like eye to it. And then it's like a peridot stone that's like the flail snail holding this obsidian. And it's like one of those like hammers of the flail snail. Um, really fine silver. It is like patinaed, it's aged sitting here, but you can tell that it's silver. As far as things go, though, it's like a valuable necklace. If you feel the flail snail, it's definitely a really great way to like represent flail snails though.
Well, all right. There doesn't seem to be anything else that I can see. around here.
No, other than that, this statue looks much like the others, where it's like a 3 or so foot tall statue that's kind of presenting this bowl, and the bowl is currently on fire.
I'll turn back to Yakima. Yeah, oh, found this really nice pendant, but no entrance so far. And I don't really see anything else in here. I think we'll have to go with the main entrance.
Um,
Oh, my bad. I threw it up in Discord too, but that's the wording from the obelisk. When
gotcha.
you head out of that little corridor, Taryn, are you kind of waiting for Jarek to leave, or are you just kind of walking past them?
Oh, I'll be walking past them.
Gotcha. So, Jarek, as he leaves this place, you're going to watch as these poles just like magically click off. As he steps back off into the sunlight, the bowls are almost going to like wave across this room as they all turn off, like Ankh first, or Unk first, the Shagimi, and the Grung, all the way down that line. It's just going to slowly turn off as the light goes off. I think you lit the torch, so you're still in light, but you'll definitely see it around you.
Yeah, so Jarek will, just like as he's leaving, he wants to stop and look at one of these bowls. So these bowls look like anything that like a almost like an offering kind of bowl. Are they? Is there anything that you can see within the bowl that looks like a source of this light?
So you can do like a religion check, kind of about like an offering level of like if you religiously feel this is like inclined to be an offering, or you could do like an arcana to maybe like delve a little bit more into like what you just experienced. Do you know what I mean? Like the subtle difference on that one?
Yeah, his first thought was offering, so I'm going to go with religion.
So I think there's certainly a level to understand that these are offering bowls. Um, but it can definitely be in recognition, perhaps, as you're kind of watching this happen again, in recognition that like they are sensing the keys. If you are inclined to question like if you guys can offer something to these at present, I'm inclined to say with the 17, something that comforts you that you guys are on the right course at present, that you don't have to offer something to them.
Okay, so with that sense, Jarek will move to follow Taryn back outside and Zeros.
Gotcha. Yeah, if I didn't have like a good answer for that, that's why I wanted to say that clearly, to make sure you didn't think like, I think that's definitely a good way to patternize. Like you can almost see the distance he gets away from them, as you already saw like the distance he got close enough to them. It was like almost exactly 10 feet that you just see them activate. Then he gets like too far away and it's going to turn off.
Yeah, and that makes him wonder maybe the pendant was left as an offering at some point, but um yeah, he's following Taryn back out.
So, are you all kind of heading right towards the other area? What sort of thoughts do you all have kind of looking around this area.
So Jarek is curious about the what he had seen on the obelisk about donning the mask or be seen. Doesn't know what kind of mask they might be talking about, but it seems the way it's written that it's better to have the mask than not. Not sure what would see them, but he's thinking it might not be anything good. Um, he almost wants to like look around the outside here some more, maybe like along the walls of the cliff um, to their like west and stuff, and see if maybe there's like some other hidden alcove or entrance somewhere aside from the main entrance. If
Go for a perception check. Yeah, so taking a little bit of time to kind of comb over this area, you can kind of see there's really just the one last way to go. It's the route that's kind of just north of the obelisk there.
Gotcha. So yeah, having kind of not found anything, Jarek will like kind of nod to Taryn and gesture towards the entrance, and seems like only way to go.
One thing, looking around a little bit more, you all have not experienced much of them, but you have heard of the gargoyles of Omu. When you're actually looking around this area, like north and south, or rather east and west of it, kind of, you are going to start to notice that there are indeed gargoyles, like in this cliff face, where you can kind of just spot like the stone face, and it would have been easy to miss, would have been easy to catch. But again, this space, because it kind of like sits in um, like just like almost like as if a rock was like pulled out with like a handful of sand, like pulled out at the beach. So it has like the overhang. Where the overhang is, you can almost see there's like a crown of, you can spot like two or three gargoyles that are towards the top of it. Um, I think that's just a random thing to kind of pick up, to remember that there are gargoyles in this place.
Yeah, that'll seeing them that'll kind of jog Jarek's memory. He'll mention it to the others, just kind of caution them to be careful. But otherwise, he is ready to follow Taryn north.
All right then, let's go.
So, as you all head towards this one, you're going to see that there is about 20 or so feet that it leads into the mountain. By the time you're in there, there's plenty of vines kind of blocking this area, but you can kind of see the stonework already ahead of you that seems to block the way. The closer you get, the more you'll see that there's kind of a ring of these skulls, and they are all horned devils. All of them kind of have different arrangements of horns, some pointing kind of straight out, and they're in bas relief, so they're almost like 3 to 5 inches, like of kind of depth, kind of like in their carving, like plus and minus little bits to give them a little 3D aspect to them. Most of them are just in this like screaming mouth open look, and this door is just like covered in these skulls. But in the center of it, a few feet from either wall, you can see that there are 9 alcoves that are not like covered in these skulls. The skulls are all around them, and each of these alcoves is the size of one of these cubes. But while you all look over them, there are 8.
Sorry, eight empty alcoves. You mean, or
Yep. It's just when you like look over it, you're gonna see kind of like three making a top row, and then you can kind of see three down, three making a bottom row, and like three up. So it's like three, two, three, as far as like the lines go.
gotcha? And do we see anything if we taking a look in these in the alcoves? Anything to indicate that a particular cube would go in a particular place? Like any noticeable differences between the alcoves that we can see in a visual inspection?
Roll a perception check. Looking around, they all pretty much look like the exact same size. They are definitely shaped for these cubes, but they don't seem to give any clue as to what would go in them for an answer.
So Jarek is his initial thought is okay. The flail snail was the hidden one, so maybe that's the one we don't put in at first. If we could either put the other ones in maybe in the order of the tail, as the creatures are mentioned from the tale that Eku had told us from the Grung King. It's the only um, way he can think to order things, but he has no idea like where to start in the um, which one goes where. I don't know. He doesn't know if Taryn has any ideas on that.
I don't know how far zoomed out you guys are, but if you kind of go zoomed out and look on the right side, I at least drew the boxes in that kind of a outward sign. So you have like a little bit of a visual.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But
Oh,
again,
okay, yeah.
besides that, my like art there is terrible. They are all the same. Effectively, your only real clue is that they are cube shaped.
Karen, to Jack, do you think maybe it's like in the alcove we went into, the side entrance, or what we thought was side entrance, that the have them opposite of each other, the ones fighting each other, so to say, like you said with the Moa and Wongo. I'm still kind of curious why there's only 8. And we have 9 cubes.
Right. Well, it seems that Unk seemed to be a part. It was hidden in the alcove, so maybe if we put the other 8 in first, that one will appear. Or
Uh, Taryn, take a look around, see if you can find like a hidden alcove or anything like that. And maybe you should put the Ankh in.
So you want to look around for like a secret door or something like in that area.
Yeah, like a secret indentation for. Well, yeah, either like a secret door or like a secret indentation for where to put the cube.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. You're like looking to see if there's any signs that a center would like open up in between those other 8.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Roll a perception. No, roll an investigation on this one. So taking a few moments to kind of clear away like the moss, the like the vines that do cover that area, to really open up this area a little bit more here. Um, you don't see any sign that that rock is anything but monolithic. There's the skull carvings throughout it, but the closer you get, the more you see like all of these same signs that like the last this rock was separate, it was liquid. But looking over this, you don't see any sign that there would be like a physical cavity for the Ankh or the Ankh cube.
The Terran, in terms of like the your thought with like the opposing, would that be like top left and bottom left, top right and bottom right, middle top, middle bottom, and then the left and the right in the center as the
Yeah,
four opposition?
and like think basically like you could draw lines between them. Just nice. And if we have like in the side tunnel, we had what was it like Moa and Wongo facing Ijin and Ubalaka, Kubasan, Papasotel, and Nang Nang and Shagambi. They were all fighting each other in their tails. They were their enemies. So they're might be like they're opposite of each other. Trying to think.
Yeah, either I'm thinking either that or we go, um, yeah, in the order that they're mentioned in the tale. Which I think is also they're mentioned kind of in pairs as a opposition, so it's similar. So it's like, do we want to go with the do we go with the order that the statues are in the alcove, or do we go order that the tale was told to us?
The tales are certainly just passed by word of mouth. They change in the telling. If you think there is a proper order, it would be from the statues, because the tale could come in any order.
Makes sense. Tara, do you want to try that?
So the other big question I was trying to think whether Eku or anybody else would point out for you is if you go to do it in an order, where would you like to start at?
Yeah, that was the other thing I couldn't figure out.
So I was trying to figure out whether you two actually agree and the addition of the order is the extra thing. Justin, are you thinking about whether to go like what was it? It was Mawa and Wango. So like are you thinking say like Mawa and then doing Wango right next to it? And I think Chris was talking about having them opposite each other? Or were you
Yeah, I didn't really have a good sense of which, like how we wanted to go. If we wanted to go like top left to around, but like I was trying to more clarify with Chris, like in terms of the putting them opposite. Was he meaning like the so like the top left in this one, and then that seems to be kind of his thoughts. So I mean, Jarek doesn't have a better idea in terms of the order. There doesn't seem to be any noticeable differences among the alcoves, so He's willing to Terran if you want to try it the way you were thinking.
All right, but for safety's sake, maybe the rest of you should back up a bit, just to be safe.
So that wall is about like 20 feet into the like kind of side of the cliff. What kind of safety level is everybody getting, just outside under the sunlight kind of thing?
Jarek might move like he'd kind of be like he'd still be watching. He'd kind of be off to the side a little bit, but he'd still want to be kind of able to see what's going on. So if the vines are still pretty thick, he would be a little bit closer.
Yeah. So I feel like, I mean, the vines like are thick regardless. But I would say like where I had you guys would be where like Quinn and Jarek, like if you were back around the corner again, that would be where essentially you're standing at the corner. You're able to look at him, but you are like body around it. Like if you were watching somebody mess with like dynamite, like setting dynamite, you probably want to have most of your body behind it, and you would think of Terran as insane, which you guys probably should think Terran is insane. But yeah, like that is where I would say you guys are at the outside, kind of looking in. There's no reason to say he's going to block your view right now. He's got light. You guys can see him. It might have vines in the way, but that's a separate thing that you guys can clear away if you were worried about that.
Gotcha. And Zeros will be a little more like he's not really watching. He's doing the more dynamite kind of. He's just against the wall, like onto the side. But Jarek doesn't want to leave kind of Terran feeling too alone, so get too far away. But
All right, so I can see you're already doing enough. You guys are setting this up where, as you put the last of these cubes in, you're going to see this door that's right at the edge of the cliff face is going to slowly start to descend. 10, 9,
Oh shit. Terran is gonna
8.
move back.
Are you getting out of that cave?
Yeah, if it's descending, I am getting out of there.
are you
7,
taking the cubes?
6. That might be
I'm getting out of there.
So
5,
we're just leaving the cubes?
4,
Yeah, at the
Uh,
moment,
I'm
I'm
just
3.
not
gonna
trusting that.
run in and try to grab them.
All right. Um, Action economy, that is probably too much stuff for you to do in what ends up being the seconds that are left here. Um, Let me have you roll. I think you need like 2 nat 20s in a row, and I'll say you have a chance to like grab all of these and roll back out. So let me see 2d20, and these have to be 2 nat 20s. Otherwise,
No.
you just kind of got stuck in there. Oh, were those then the dexterities there?
Yep, I did not get two
Gotcha.
nat
My
20.
bad. Sometimes I don't even like see the dice ticker move. Yeah, so you're gonna like roll in there and starting to grab these cubes. You're just going to hear like the clunk of that door behind you, and it's going to kind of seal off. Roll any die, odd or even. Even, your torch kind of fell inside of this room and stayed lit. Odd, it either went out or didn't fall in. Yeah, so you've got the torch like sitting at the edge of this room, right back near where this door dropped. You're like reaching out for these cubes with that little bit of the flicker from this, and you're just gonna start to hear. I need a Constitution saving throw. Alrighty. So this is going to last for a little bit of time here. This first. Oh, I messed up. So this first turn, you are going to take 9 points of poison damage and 3 points of acid damage. As you breathe in this like horrific dust that at first it starts to make it so you're like immediately gasping for air, like there's no oxygen, and then you like feel with each cough that there's like an oozing burning sensation that's like coming from your lungs as these two effects are happening. You are going to be locked in here for a series of rounds. I'm just going to call for the checks. Do you have any thoughts what you are going to do when this starts to burn and kind of like you get this, I don't know, weird room of choking, burning death?
Um, I guess he'll try to kind of like cover his mouth as best he can. He's hmm, and Taryn has the ninth cube outside.
He does indeed.
I think he's
So
gonna.
at least this first round, that's going to kind of go by in this first like recognition that like grabbing the rest of the cubes isn't probably that important. You just have like some of them right now. Definitely covering your mouth is a first step, and your just like initial thought is to that ninth cube, if that is the solution. So you took those 9. Let me get one more Constitution save here. So this time you're going to take a total of 7 damage as you take 4 poison damage and 3 more acid. Just kind of like sitting out this moment, recognizing that the other cube is outside. You've got a few on you. You're kind of blocking off your like senses, but at the same time, everything is still burning. You still kind of hear this like hissing as this gas is being pumped into this room.
I think sensing the hissing of the gas, he's gonna move to douse the torch. Not sure if this gas could be flammable.
Gotcha. Yeah, so theoretically, you could kind of throw maybe like your cloak over it to suffocate it, something like that. But you can definitely kind of like drop down, smother it, and then kind of like stand back to do a third save for me, please. This one's going to take half again, so you'll take 6 as the burning like subsides a little bit. It's still choking you out pretty solid. Any other thoughts about your situation in these moments, like this burning sensation is coming over you?
If he can sense where, like, if the gas seems to be coming from like up high, he might try to kind of get down on the ground and crawl back towards the entrance separating him from the others. Essentially,
Gotcha. So
kind of.
you're just trying to kind of get low, and get away from it.
Yeah.
Roll a roll a medicine check for me. Yeah, you're gonna start to move for it. You're going to kind of weather that damage before you recognize like it's not actually helping you. Whatever this stuff is, perhaps it's just as likely to sink low as it is like just filling up this room. You can't really like feel the pressure difference with the light out. You can't really see how cloudy it's getting, but it was getting cloudy before. You don't feel much difference getting on the ground. Uh, 2 things at least that might be there saying like you're kind of in this. Neither of those were effective. One more Constitution save, please. All right, this one you're going to take another 7 damage from, as kind of that burning and the coughing persists. Any more thoughts? Like anything else that you want to try? Getting down low didn't really help.
Now it's dark, so he won't be able to see like where this stuff is coming from to try to plug it up with anything.
Go for a
Unless he can,
perception check.
try to like hear kind of, yeah.
This will technically be a disadvantage. Solid roll. You don't have like anything like prepared right away, but you can definitely hear like where this gas is coming from. I would say this is the type of thing where you're probably tearing up whatever like shirt or some sort of cloth that's kind of like quick on your person. If you've got to get something out of your bag, it's going to take a turn to do. If it's something that you would normally wear, you're kind of destroying something like clothing wise. But that's definitely a good place to go to. You could at least start.
Yeah, I think he'd be ripping at this point. He'd just be ripping like maybe like the sleeve of the kind of the shirt that he's wearing.
Gotcha. So yeah, when you go for that, let me get a sleight of hand check from you. Gotcha. So this next round, you can have advantage on your Constitution check here, and we'll go to round 5. And this one you will take half against. So you'll take 3 damage on this one. Actually, really, that's 2 damage. Does it always round up? No, it rounds down. Yeah, 2 damage. Yeah, so stuffing it definitely helps. You can continue with that. Probably give you one more round, mid-range DC, and things will kind of continue really high, and you might be able to plug them. It's just a question of like how effective once you have all the big holes kind of plugged up. But going for another little bit of trying to plug them with your shirt here.
There's another sleight of hand.
Oh yes, my bad. One more slight. Yeah, solid. I'd say from there, you're just gonna have kind of like time where you're still trying to like add more. You kind of have things stabilized. Um, Still kind of a pressurized. It's still kind of filled up the room. So let's go for 2 more DCs. Both of these with advantage. Um, as it kind of like fills up, starts to clear out. So yeah, you'll take half. Oh, damn. Um, you're gonna take half of each of those, but you're taking another 28 damage before it kind of like subsides. That's essentially over the next 30 seconds. Kind of taking that damage, but that sucks that I rolled so high. Oh wait, I just rolled d20s. Those are d10s. Makes the average much more sense. 27 halved is going to be 5 and 8, so a total of 13.
And it was, so it was 28. So I'll add back 28.
Yeah, like either add back the 28, then take the 13, or add back 15. I rolled 4d20 instead of 4d10. Big difference. So wherever that puts Jarek at, which yeah, lethally wounded kind of makes sense to me. Just bloodied. It's still evident of things. We are going to pick up next week as this wall is going to start to slide up after a minute of Jarek being locked in there. And the cubes that you were not able to grab are all pushed out of the wall and they fall to the ground behind you as that door starts to move. So, assuming you had like 3 cubes, 6 of these cubes are just going to fall to the ground as you hear that sweet sound of the door rise up. You'll see a little bit of this gas kind of evaporate away as the sun looks at it. But that's where we'll pick up.
Yeah, Jarek will. If he once he hears it, he'd be moving to get outside as quickly as he can and trying to haul in lungfuls of air. He looks. I mean, he's not. I guess he's not really bloody, but he looks. He looks. Yeah, kind of like ashen faced and coughing and retching and yeah. But yeah. I mean, I think that makes sense. Jarek rushing in, like not really thinking of what he's doing, but
Yeah, I kind of feel bad because I meant to actually tell Chris about the like gas holes with his investigation check. Um, I kind of felt bad. I kind of feel bad about that. And that's like a random mistake to then become an issue. But
I
I
think
feel like he kind of falls into he got out of there. I just don't know it like I can't even remember now if I had told him if it was the type of thing where it was in the moment that you guys were stepping out, if he would have, I guess it was before he put the cubes in there. It's kind of a rough spot, but I feel like it's one of those things. It's a good thing now that we know Jarek is not actually like dead injured from it.
yeah, and I think Jarek would have still because he was afraid that if that wall came down, it wouldn't come back up again, and we just have lost the cube. So that's why he went rushing in to try to get him back.
Gotcha. That definitely makes me feel better to kind of have it that way. But again, that's one of those weird things where sometimes I feel like I took like a breath and then I was thinking like, oh yeah, I should give him. And you guys were already talking, and then it just like slipped my mind by the time we kind of came around to it.
So, Chris, what order did you go in the first time?